My Story is presented by Island Cancer Center.
Hafiday, and welcome to My Story. This episode is one of resilience, unwavering love, and support. First, we'll get to know Thomas and Ramona Borja's stories, a mother and son journeying together through changing tides. Their stories are rooted in hope and serve as inspiration to so many. We'll also explore the untold stories of those who act as pillars for their loved ones as they hold them up through hardship. Later, speaking with Thomas and Ramona's family member and pediatrician and acting chief medical officer of public health, Dr. Bob Leon Guerrero. Hafiday, and welcome to this episode of My Story. Today we are joined by two very special guests via Zoom, Ramona and Thomas Borja. So Hafiday, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing good. We're hanging in there.
Right.
Just taking it a day at a time.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. You know, we're here in Guam and you guys are back in the States, so thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us. And, you know, I just wanted to talk to you both about your experience with what you're going through right now. And first of all, Ramona, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with cancer?
Cancer is a really big hard work for me. It's been in our family. My daughter passed from cancer when she was 7. My son was 14 when he passed. And then now my son Thomas is 7 years old and also has cancer. It's really hard. But, we're just trying our best to just go where it takes us. We're just hoping that the treatment he has right now that he's getting will actually work. It's just a try right now. We're not too sure if it help or if it's not. So it's still, the doctors are still studying this diagnosis that he has.
And speaking of his diagnosis, could you tell me a little bit about the diagnosis itself?
Well, he is diagnosed with a constitutional mismatch repair deficiency syndrome. It's a rare genetic disorder that can increase the risk of developing one or more types of cancer. My son right now, the cancer that he has also is called medulloblastoma. It's a brain cancer. So that's what he's being treated for right now.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you've been coping with this experience? Considering everything that you've gone through, how is it dealing with it now?
Oh my goodness. I can say it's really hard. I'm just happy that I have family and friends, and oh my goodness, there's a lot of people out there in the community that are actually reaching out to us and giving us their prayers, their thoughts, their love. They're also donating to his GoFundMe. I've been just trying my best to do what I can for my son, also for my other kids, so we can make it through. It's a challenge, but as a mother, you do what you can to help your child.
Well, Ramona, I just have to say I commend you. You are doing amazing, and it brings me so much peace to hear that you are supported by your family. And I just want to let you know that you are doing an amazing job. If nobody has told you that recently, you are doing amazing, and thank you for sharing your story with us. And you know, centering the topic on you, I want to know, what outlets do you turn to when you know you're going through such a difficult time? What helps you through this time?
Well, right now, you know, the outlets that I reach out to are like my family. When I'm really not feeling, you know, like if I'm feeling really like stressed out, under a lot of pressure, because I am really, really stressed. Goodness, I call my family, I text them, my best friend, you know, just to talk to them. Just something that I can at least let out of my system. And then of course they talk to me, you know, they give me advice, they how do you say that? They would comfort me.
And Ramona, I also wanted to ask you, for those who may be going through something similar, what words of wisdom would you impart to those people who are going through something similar as you?
I would let them know that yes, it's really, really hard, but just know that you are not alone. You know, I also I'm willing to like give them a feel of, you know, what I went through, what I've done to cope with a lot. And I also would like to let, you know, others know out there that you don't know what tomorrow brings. So always make sure you hug your kids, your family. You tell them how much you love them, because you just never know.
And my last question for you, how can everybody watching contribute to Thomas's journey right now?
Right now, you know, I ask for a lot of prayers. That's what we really need. Thomas needs. I also ask people out there, you know, I'm asking for donation through his GoFundMe. Because right now, it's really hard on our end. I had to stop working just to make sure he's taken care of with his medical treatments. And so I'm not able to work, and there's a lot of things that, you know, our place to stay. We want to make sure we still have, you know, that when we are done everything, a vehicle as well, like you know, make sure that we have a vehicle to go to his medical treatments and from his medical treatments. It's a lot. So I just want to reach out to the community, you know, please, you know, it really means a lot for us, and it helps us out a lot.
Well, listening to your story is such an inspiration, and I know that once people hear about you and Thomas's story, I know that everybody would be more than willing to contribute and offer prayers and whatever it is that you guys may need to help you through your journey. And with that being said, I also wanted to ask Thomas a few questions if I could. If he's willing to.
Hold on, he'll be. Come on, Thomas. He went to go get his iPad. Okay. They want to ask you something, okay, my baby?
Hi, Thomas.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so could I ask you just a few questions? Because people here want to get to know you, and I want to get to know you. So can you tell me what your favorite color is?
My favorite color is blue and brown.
Oh, blue and brown?
Blue and red. Make it a little
Blue
bit
and red. Ooh, those are great colors. Okay, so do you have any favorite TV shows?
What is it that you always watch on the TV.
Oh, my favorite movie is Turning Red.
Oh, is that the one about the big panda?
Yeah.
What is your favorite game to play on your iPad? Do you have a favorite game to play?
Roblox.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. This is my last question for you. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I wanna be a rich man.
Oh my God, I want to be a rich woman too. So hopefully we can make that dream come true, right? We're gonna make it come true? Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's a great career choice, honestly. And before I let you go, is there anything that you guys want to share with us before we let you guys go?
We just want to thank everyone for all the messages, the texts that I've received, the donations, their thoughts, also their prayers. That is, we really appreciate everything. It really means a lot to us. We just want to thank everybody out there.
Well, Ramona and Thomas, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I know it's late back there, so thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And most importantly, thank you for sharing your story. I know that so many people here will be touched by it. I am touched by it, and I am inspired by it, and I commend you. And I wish you the best of luck moving forward, and you have my thoughts and my prayers. So thank you so much for joining us. Hafide, and welcome back to My Story. So we are joined in studio by a family member of Ramona and Thomas, Miss Ramona Santiago. She's also a Ramona. Hafide, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course, we are so honored to have you. We just recently talked to Ramona and Thomas via Zoom. So it's awesome to have you in studio so we can hear a little bit more about,
Thank you.
you know, how this experience has also impacted the family, because that's a story that often goes untold.
Yeah.
So just first and foremost, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Ramona Santiago. Thomas John is my first cousin. I was raised by my auntie Ramona, so I really consider all of them, all her kids, my siblings, because I grew up with them.
Right.
And Thomas is very special to me just because I was in the delivery room when he came into this world.
Wow.
I had the honor of seeing him.
That is your little brother, that's your baby brother. So, you know, speaking of that, the closeness between you and your first cousin, who is like a brother to you, how has this experience impacted you? Most especially recently.
It's been really hard. I've been in contact with my auntie Mona, who's like a mom to me, and you know, seeing her go through all of this and having 2 children taken from her out of 3 that were diagnosed with this disease, it's heartbreaking. And you know, I'm part of the family that really wanted to help her and try to give her strength and, you know, tell her that there's always tomorrow, there's always hope. And you know, it just truly saddens me because I saw this boy come into this world. I held him in my arms for the first time in that delivery room, and it's just, you know, it hurts me so much. And it's really affecting my family back in Oregon tremendously. And this is why I came out to tell his story, because I'm not there. I'm not physically there to help them, but this is my way of giving back to them by sharing his story and hopefully getting the donations and the prayers that he really needs. Because, you know, Guam is majority Catholic, And that's the biggest thing that we ask is prayers.
What are the ways that you still stay connected with them?
Every day I video call them on WhatsApp. I always ask, to talk to Thomas John, and I tell him, you have to be strong. They're from Guam, so he's our island warrior. He will always be a very proud native of Guam, and he has to be strong. And I always, after I talk to him, I sit down with my auntie, and I ask her, how you're doing. You're doing great. Always have to reassure them, because it's very hard to go through this on a daily basis.
I could only imagine. But when we were speaking with Ramona, she said that is something that really helps her through her experiences, the support of her family. And, the support that your family offers is so important. It really is. I also wanted to ask you, there's so many people who might relate to what you're going through. What piece of advice can you give to those people who are experiencing something similar? If they feel hopeless or they feel like they can't get through another day, what piece of advice would you give to them?
There's always hope. Prayers go a long way, and you find comfort in trying to have that hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day. So even if you feel at your lowest, just know that even though it may not seem like no one's there to support you, there's a lot of people that do, and they want you to keep going.
And my very, very last question for you, what is it that you love the most about Ramona and Thomas John?
Like I said, I grew up with Ramona, and it just amazes me how someone like her could have so much strength in what she went through. That's what I love most about her, is that despite having 5 kids in total and 3 diagnosed with this disease, 2 taken away from her, she really tries to be there for her kids, even if she's going through what she's going through with Thomas John. And her grieving still because of the loss of her 2 kids. She's an amazing mother to her other 2, and with Thomas John, I love that boy. He had such the most beautiful, amazing, bright smile that really warms your heart when you see him. Like the minute he just walks into the room, you just feel like the love and all this happiness, coming out of him despite what he's going through. He's a really bubbly personality, and I just love that about him. And that's the kind of attitude that we need him to have. Despite what he's going through, the pain and all this treatment that he has, he needs to be happy.
Well, I second that. He radiates beautiful energy despite whatever he's going through, and that is a lesson that we can all take with us. So thank you first and foremost for coming in today and sharing your story. And before we let you go, is there anything else that you'd want to share?
Thank you, Guam, for listening to our story. We're asking for prayers that hopefully this will be the last, and that he can heal. And thank you so much for all the donations that everyone has given and sharing his story. It really means a lot to me and the family, and I'm gonna continue to try and help them any way that I can, even though I'm not physically there. So thank you guys so much, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in today. For those who may not know, can you just go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do?
So I'm Dr. Robert Leon Guerrero. I started out as being a pediatrician back in 1984 at FHP, and have since moved on and on the acting chief medical officer at Public Health. But I still see kids every day, either at Dededo or in Iran.
We talked a little bit about Thomas Borja, who's a 7-year-old with medulloblastoma. And as you can imagine, for adults, it's easier to grasp the concept of something so life-altering like cancer. But for children, that's not always the case. It's such a monumental thing that it's hard to digest. And so I was wondering if you could shed a little bit of light on how you go about explaining such a difficult diagnosis with your patients.
The actual incidence of terminal illness with cancer in pediatrics is very low. Obviously, they go through the rough chemo and radiation that they will experience, but they usually will do okay. And normally, they go up into adulthood and have very fruitful lives. Very rarely will they have terminal illnesses. I had one case where it was I believe a 9 or 10-year-old that had a brain tumor that was inoperable, wouldn't respond to radiation or chemotherapy at that time. So this child that I can recall, before they left, I talked to the parents without the child and say, look, we're going to send you off island to make sure, but from what I've read about this particular type of brain tumor where it's at, there is no treatment, and they probably will tell you that and go from there. And so I didn't have to explain it to the child. It was either Honolulu or LA, and the people there have a lot of social workers that are heavily involved with kids and cancer. And so I'm sure that's where he got to learn about his diagnosis, because it was really an intense discussion with the child, and a discussion that a 10-year-old shouldn't be having, but he had to have it. Because basically a 9-year-old death. What's death? Oh yeah, that's something that happens to grandmas and granddads, not kids. So their idea of death is very, very not me orientated.
I can't even imagine what that's like, having to share such difficult information. So I wanted to know, what mental effect, if any, does relaying that information have on your mental health?
So although I did have to explain it to them when they came back, we didn't have home care nursing at the time, so I felt it was not a good idea to come to the clinics to get follow-ups, because people would, obviously they'll stare because this kid can't walk and he looks like, basically looks like doesn't look good. And so I just told them I will come to their house maybe once a month. And going there, I didn't do any medical treatments because there was nothing to do other than just hold the parents' hands and hold the kids' hands and share the emotion. And believe me, we shared a lot of emotions. And so afterwards, I would talk, as I mentioned before, I would go home and I'd be so depressed. My wife would look at me and say, what's going on? And I would tell her. And then after that, she listens and, gives me a hug and stuff. And then I would go outside and cut down tongan. So if you ever look at my yard, there's no tongan trees in my yard because I cut them all down.
So I was wondering if you can just share a little bit about the great things about what you do. What is the most rewarding aspect about your job?
Dealing with the kids. They help rejuvenate me. People ask me how come I'm not retired, and I say, well, when I go to work and I'm seeing patients, especially the children, I get a big kick out of that, seeing them. And I feel, like I said, rejuvenated. I get to act like a little kid with them. And they think I'm just trying to bond with them. I'm a kid at heart. And any way I can get my kid out of me and look like I'm bonding with them, that's great. But yeah, they're helping me more than I'm helping them, I think, sometimes.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Okay, the last thing I want to ask you before we conclude the interview, for those who are going through a very difficult time, most especially with a difficult diagnosis, can you share a little bit of what you would like to impart to them to help them get through this time?
So I mean, I just tell them I'm here if they need to talk. I'm available if they want, and if they rather talk to their priest or pastor, or if they want, I could refer them to a mental health specialist. But I always tell them you need to talk about it. If you keep it in, it's gonna break your heart. So you need to discuss, even if you don't want to discuss. You need to talk to somebody. And it doesn't have to be me. It could be, like I said, a priest or a pastor of their choice, or it could be mental health individual, but they need to talk about it.
Yes, and that's what we hope to provide through this platform. We hope to facilitate discussions that we can hopefully help each other through this time. So again, Dr. Bob, thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your experiences, and thank you for all that you do. I wish
You're
you
welcome.
a great day, and thank you again for taking the time. Through My Stories platform, we strive to provide a safe space for all of you watching at home to engage in these very vulnerable and authentic stories in an effort to foster togetherness and understanding. We thank Thomas, Ramona, and Dr. Bob for helping to continue these significant conversations and for sharing their experiences with us.